Hey everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project with you. Apologies for the delay. Completely my fault. I've had some technical issues, which I won't bore you with. Our special guest for today is Vincenza. Now, in all the hullabaloo, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your surname. Is it Carrieri Russo?
Very good. I am impressed. It's Vincenza Carrieri Russo, but that was a very good first attempt.
I figured I got to get one thing right today, Vincenza, so maybe pronouncing your surname will be my saving grace. But look, so thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. As I mentioned, your pageant is coming up in less than a week.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you, first off, are you a first time director, or is this at least the first time directing this pageant? I can see you're you're
Okay.
nodding your
Yes.
head.
I am a first-time director of the Miss Delaware USA, Miss Delaware Teen USA pageant. So this is a very exciting new role for me. However, I am no stranger to pageants. I'm sure you know that. I've probably have worn almost every single hat that you could wear in putting together and producing a pageant. Whether whether I was a contestant, a judges coordinator, a host. Actually, one of my favorite leadership positions was being a host for multiple pageants and productions. I would say that's my passion that I enjoy doing. But then I've been a choreographer, I've been a judges coordinator, a chaperone, you name it. I have had the opportunity to experience multiple roles in putting together a live production, a pageant, and I love every element, every component, everything that goes into producing a pageant. It's something that it's true to me. It's a passion of mine, and I'm actually very honored that I have the privilege of position of being appointed the director of Miss Delaware USA, Miss Delaware Teen USA now.
There's so many different places to jump in. I mean, I was aware that obviously you've got I would describe it as a storied pageant history, because I looked on your website and I just Googled you. And it's not everyone that I interview has an IMDb entry and a Wikipedia entry. So I feel like interviewing a proper celebrity here.
Oh, stop. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
If I backtrack to the beginning, I'll start with a simple question which I ask just so we get it out of the way. How did you get involved in the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
Okay. So I was always a tomboy growing up. I enjoyed sports. My favorite sport was soccer. I was on the swim team every summer. I always was surrounded by sports, but I also had a love for dance, ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, point since the age of 3. So I was no stranger to the performing arts and the stage, but I really loved sports. And one day, my neighbor saw a picture of me from my 8th grade prom and told my mom, Vincenza should enter the Miss Delaware Teen USA pageant. She's so pretty. She's so captivating in this photo. And so my mom was like, sure, let me ask her. And my mom approached me with the idea, and me, the daredevil I was, and was like, sure, I'll try something different, try something new. I had no idea what I was doing. Zero clue. No idea. I just was told to smile when I got on that stage. And that's literally what I did my first pageant. I just smiled. I remember to this day, my cheeks were killing me. I was shaking, but
Yep.
first time, 4th runner up, I was hooked. I was like, oh, I like this. This is fun. And then I just kept coming back every year after that. And the rest was history.
What was it that most sort of captivated you? I mean, as you described yourself as a tomboy, and you're definitely
Mhm.
not the first person, the first woman who's described themselves as that. But I'm just curious, for you personally, what aspect drew you into pageantry? What got you hooked, so to speak?
Honestly, I enjoyed the competitive element to it. I love training, working hard, being disciplined about setting a goal and working
Mm,
hard for it. I think that's what I enjoyed the most. And it's so rewarding when you set a goal and you achieve it. Now, achieving a goal doesn't mean you're walking away with the crown on your head. It could be
yeah.
as something as I really want to build that confidence on stage or nail that interview or just feel good about walking out of that interview room like I did that. I was myself, or even just training and preparing and working out and eating healthy. These are all so many components that go into preparing and competing for a competition. And then obviously the best part of it all, the sisterhood, the friendships. I mean, some of my best friends are from every single pageant I have competed in. And still to this day, I maintain these relationships and friendships. I mean, my pageant is this weekend, and I have called upon almost every single friend that I have met over all the years of competing in pageantry to come on and help me this weekend. And I'm very fortunate that every single one of them is joining me. So I'm very lucky. But that, again, that's what pageants have offered me. And everyone goes through those different experiences. But I really enjoy that competitive element.
Can you give us an idea, rough speaking, how many pageants you've competed in?
I would say I stopped counting after 30. I would have to say, yeah, I always say over 30, and I lost track.
That's fair enough.
Before I won the title of Miss Delaware USA, I was competing. I was already at 30 pageants, and it was 9 years before I won that title. And that was a big deal, big deal for me. I worked so hard. Every year I kept coming back, and I always explain this to my contestants that I know what it is to be in your shoes. I know the experience. I know the emotions. I know the feelings. I know the sacrifice, the financial investment. I know every emotion because I did it for so long. And it was, you don't forget. You really don't forget those feelings, those experiences, those emotions that you go through when you train so hard for something and you want something so badly. And it was by far the most rewarding experience of my life to this day, even to this day.
What is it like? I mean, I feel there's so many different questions I want to ask you, but let me ask you this one. What is it like being first-time director? You've got your contestants coming in, and you do know exactly what it's like to be in their shoes. And it wasn't like it was so long ago, it was a different era. I mean, that's got to be something that you just sometimes catch yourself and go, hang on, that girl there, you used to be me like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Does it feel surreal at all?
Yes. I sometimes pinch myself that I have this honor of being the director. And I remember like it was yesterday, to be honest with you, that I was in their shoes competing and preparing. I know what every single one of them is feeling right now, today, like a few days building up to the weekend. I know what they're feeling. I know the emotion, the anxiety, the adrenaline, the nerves. I feel it, and I'm excited for them. And I almost want, I feel like I'm their cheerleader. Like, I'm the type that believes in, positive energy, uplifting, making sure that you're that support system in a sense where you're always encouraging. I think that's really, really important. And I want to make sure that I apply all of that as the director, that I'm encouraging to every single one, because I do know what it feels like to receive that and how important it was to receive that, especially the week before pageant weekend.
And as a director, how are your emotions 5 days out, 6 days out, compared to when you were competing and you were 5 days, 6 days out? I know very well, having interviewed, similarly to yourself, you stopped counting at 30 pageants. I stopped counting pageant interviews when I got to 200. I know I've done over 200. But can you compare the emotions you feel as a director to the emotions going in as a competitor?
I haven't slept in weeks.
That sums it up.
I think about this pageant, this moment every single day. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it because I want it to be done correctly. fairly, and I want my contestants to have fun. It's so important that they enjoy the experience. And that's something that I stress. And I'm not sure if you know, I'm an owner of an Italian restaurant in Delaware.
Oh, I
Third,
very much
okay.
know.
And
We
as,
had Danielle Allura on our podcast, and I had seen your restaurant before. I think someone had tagged themselves in it, and then Danielle mentioned it,
yeah.
and I love Italian food. So now I'm looking at it, and every time I look at it, I get hungry. So I do know.
Okay. As a third generation restaurateur and growing up in the industry, I was always taught, it's important. The customer comes first and making sure that they have the best possible experience. Yes, the quality of the food and what you provide and the product is so, so important. But it's really important to stress that they enjoy their experience. And I'm applying that same mentality with going into producing the Miss Delaware USA, Miss Delaware Teen USA pageant, that I want my contestants to have the best possible experience. And that's what I think about every single day in, day out. What can I do to make sure that they feel good, they feel confident, they feel comfortable, especially, during a pandemic. So I'm thinking of all of these elements that go into making sure that it's a beautiful production, it's organized, it's on time, but I always make sure that the contestants come first, top priority, every step of the way.
Well, that's interesting because I only have two guiding principles when it comes to pageantry, and that one is one of them, that the girls must come first.
Mm-hmm.
How much more difficult has it been doing the pageant just after or still during the pandemic? I mean, I can't imagine it's made it any easier.
Someone put it into perspective for me that God is preparing you and teaching you right from the beginning that nothing can stop you, that, it's not, nothing in life, worthwhile comes easy. And if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So I always say that. And I believe that it's preparing me, it's training me, it's making sure that I'm sharp and I'm disciplined from the very beginning, but I'm also building a strong foundation. And I think that's really important, especially as a first-time director, that I build a really strong foundation, a very good reputation, because that will set the tone moving forward. And yes, to be honest with you, it has been very stressful, very challenging, but anybody that knows me knows I love a good challenge. So I find it very ironic that, I'm the director in the middle of a pandemic. But I thought, you know what? I like a good challenge. And I think it's interesting that I'm being tested, but it's helping me stay sharp and stay disciplined every step of the way.
I guess it's a case of sometimes being careful what you wish for. If you say that you like challenges, God says, "Oh, really?"
Oh, really?
And goes,
Hey.
"Here you go. Have a pandemic." I mean, when you begin as a pageant girl, most contestants have a goal. They want to win. They set their goal as eventually they want to win a title.
Right. Normal.
When it comes to directing, normal and healthy, I would say. Nothing wrong with saying that you want to go for the top, that you want to win.
Right.
When it comes to being a director, I'm just curious. You already mentioned some of the things like you're building your reputation, which is hugely important,
Yes.
not just in pageantry and life, in the restaurant business as well.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of goals do you have in terms of being a pageant director?
Well, I feel that what I've learned as in this new role, that I noticed that the most common question I get asked is how many contestants do you have? How many contestants do you have? And I realized that, wow, that's a very common question that many people ask me. But I look at quality over quantity. And for my first year, I wanted quality contestants. But then now that I've been experiencing it and it's just a few days before pageant weekend, I think I always want quality over quantity. And again, the same mentality is applied in the restaurant industry. We always think of these things. And I think having quality contestants is so important because, again, that sets the tone. they are it's almost like they're a representation of you when they walk out on that
Yeah.
stage. And I feel that that's really, really important.
And I'm sure you've given thought to this, but for your contestants who are watching, what is it that you are most looking for in your representative? Like, what are the 1, 2, or 3
Mhm.
absolute must-have qualities that if they want the chance to represent you and represent themselves and represent their state, what are the most important things that they need to possess personally?
Committed. The first word that comes to my mind, I'm looking for that commitment. I have sacrificed so much to produce the Miss Delaware USA, Miss Delaware Teen USA pageant, building it from the ground up. And I have made it a full-time commitment. And I would hope that my new state winners, my title holders, will do the same in return, that they will be committed to the program, committed to the title, committed to the job, because it is in fact a job.
Yeah.
And I know what it felt like being Miss Delaware USA. And I know the sacrifice. I know the training, because you're not only a state representative, but you're also training for the national competition. And so that's really, really important, that you take everything seriously and you don't take it for granted, because I know for a fact there are millions of girls out there that would kill for that job. And it's important that whoever my lucky title holders are, my winners are, they will be committed to the organization, committed to the program. And it's important that they also show that appreciation for it and never take it for granted.
Well, that sounds like a good place to start is with commitment. Vincenza, just to change tack slightly, as I mentioned, I like to research before I do an interview. And when I had the misfortune of Googling your name, and I say misfortune because I was inundated with so much information, I didn't know what to do with it. Can I just ask as a basic question, when someone asks you, Vincenzo, so what do you do? How on earth do you answer that question? I mean, I have the website up there when my computer was still working, and it's like, I don't know where to begin. I mean, there's the restaurant business,
Yes.
which in itself is manic. I know during the pandemic, if I've read correctly, you're not doing dine-in, but you're still running a restaurant.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you've mentioned some of the things like you love hosting, you a spokesperson for Lupus. I'm just looking it up here, and there's so many different things. So how do you introduce yourself, or how do you answer that question? So what do you do?
Oh, gosh. So today, I would say that I introduce myself as the owner of V&M Bistro, which is an Italian restaurant in the northern part of Delaware. I'm also the co-founder of a nonprofit literacy organization called Success Won't Wait. And now my new position as director of the Miss Delaware USA and Miss Delaware Teen USA pageant.
Okay.
So I would say those are the 3 today.
I understand that. And is it possible to paint sort of how you went from entering that first pageant to where you are now? I know not everything might tie into pageantry. For example, with the restaurant, I don't know if that ties into pageantry. But if you can go back to when you first entered pageant to where now you're doing so many things, can you give us like a basic understanding of how that happened? I think you're the very definition of a multi-passionate person.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very passionate. When I put myself in a position and I dedicate myself to a particular project or, a job, I always give everything. I always give 100%. I'm committed. Back to that word, I'm committed to it. And I always was taught to never give up and always finish what you start. So I'm always dedicated. I'm always very, and I enjoy, here's the thing. I think this is also why I enjoyed pageantry so much. I love working hard for something. I love that feeling of setting a goal and working hard for it, because the feeling of achieving that goal is so rewarding. And it could be as something, as simple as Opening a restaurant. That's not simple.
Something
That's
as
not
simple.
simple.
I
But
was going to say.
it's not simple, but it could be, as going to the gym. I'm setting a goal. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week. Boom, done. I achieve that. It's very rewarding. With the restaurant, I set little goals, and that's what I was getting to. I set small goals, and it can be something as implementing a special, introducing something new to the menu, or a marketing idea for social media, or marketing for the website, or changing a look with, advertising, or changing something within the restaurant. So, those are the simple tasks. Yes, there's the big task of actually opening it, but there's so many smaller details that I enjoy working towards. I enjoy those working, setting that goal and working towards something. So and I apply that same mentality in everything that I do. And I think that that's why my motto is, it's better to be busy than to be bored. And I always have been like that since I was competing in pageants. And I've always, still to this day, I love being productive. But it is very, very important to schedule time to rest. I have learned the hard way many, many times. And I think tying in lupus, because I do have lupus, and I think that lupus has taught me to press the pause button, because it's really, really important to schedule sleep, schedule rest, and make sure that you reboot. It's really important to restart, reboot, and refresh. So I've learned to do that. And I think with having lupus, it has taught me that. And I feel that's so, so important, especially if you have so many goals that you want to achieve and you want to do them correctly. And it's important to make sure that you're well rested.
100%. I was reading a study somewhere that one of the most important factors in good mental health was actually having regular sleep habits, and that actually one of the worst things you can do is have a nap in the middle of the day and then go to bed really late and wake up early. It ruins your rhythms. Did you know from a very early age, and forgive me if I've read this and I've forgotten, but the diagnosis of lupus, when did that occur?
So I am 10 years now. So 10 years ago, I was officially diagnosed with lupus. And for those of you who don't know, lupus is an autoimmune disease. There is no cure. There's no way of predicting or preventing. If you get it, they say, studies have shown that it may be hereditary. It may be something that trauma to your body that causes it to wake up, because it's something that there's still so much research being done on it. And it's debilitating. It is. It's debilitating. It's a chronic illness. You live with pain every single day, and there's all different levels. Some days you can be fine, and some days you can be so in so much pain that you can't even get out of bed, or you need someone to help you walk because it's so debilitating. But again, there's the symptoms of lupus. They're endless. There's the extreme cases with it that it attacks all major organs: your heart, your lungs, your brain, your liver. So it's very, very important that you're always monitoring. But when I was first diagnosed with lupus 10 years ago, it started off with excruciating pains in my hands. And that was something that I was like, why do my hands hurt so much that I can't even write? I can't even lift anything. It was so painful that, again, it felt like they were just numb. I couldn't feel them anymore. And that was the first sign. And then other signs started to come up. But then I started to do homework, and I started to research, and I went to multiple doctors. And I would have to say, being very aggressive for 6 months straight, that's when we came up with the diagnosis. And again, what I mean, we meaning multiple doctors, we came up with the diagnosis with lupus, and I'm always monitoring. So I have to go to the doctors probably every 6 months. I have to go through a series of blood work tests to make sure that, we're monitoring all of my major organs, my blood, I have to be very in tune with my symptoms. It's very important that I journal if I'm having a pain, whether it's in my leg or my arm or my skin, I have to be very conscious of. The sun has become not my friend. I'm Italian. I grew up
Yeah.
in the sun. And, but over the years, I realized that the sun could really be hurtful to me. So I have to be very, very mindful when I am outside. I'm always wearing SPF. I have sunglasses on. I have a hat on. So these are all small changes that I've had to make over the years in order to live with lupus, because it's very frustrating, because again, it's not like they give you a book on how to live with lupus. Like they don't. It's actually very frustrating. So, but I believe that, it's important to make lifestyle changes. And I that's what I had to do in order to juggle everything that I'm doing.
Well, it certainly sounds like you haven't let it stop you. I mean, you're doing more than 99% of most able-bodied people that I know. I mean, when you were officially diagnosed, I mean, you strike me as someone who, I mean, you've already said that you're very productive, let's say an achiever, A-type achiever. When you got that diagnosis, what was the emotional reaction to it? Was it kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense now, what do I do with it? Did it hit harder than that? I'm just curious.
I fell into a depression. It was devastating, actually. Looking back 10 years ago now and just remembering all those emotions and feelings, I felt very lost. I felt devastated. I felt let down. I felt like, is this it? Because it's deadly. It's a deadly disease. It really is. And if it's not treated, or if you're not diagnosed correctly and you're not treated correctly, you can die from it. And many people have died from it. But I remember fighting it and being in denial and like, no, I don't have lupus. This is not going to stop me. But when you have doctors telling you, you need to stop what you're doing, you are doing too many things, you need to stay away from stressful situations, avoid stress. I think that was the best line I received from a physician. Avoid stress and you'll be okay. And I said, avoid stress? How do you avoid stress? So
like you go seeking it out, is it?
Yes, I don't look for it. But stress induces flare-ups and can cause your body to really respond poorly. So in denial with the initial diagnosis, I fell into a depression. I was lost. I was told that I had to stop everything. I had to stop dance. I had to stop pageants. That was hard to hard news to receive and give up. I was told I had to give up everything that I was doing, and I didn't want to hear that. So it took some time accepting that I had this autoimmune disease. And I did some research and I decided, you know what, it's my job to educate myself about lupus and what it is and how it affects an individual. And I felt, instead of being, oh, poor me, everyone feel bad for me, I was thinking, no, I don't want to be that person. I want to embrace it and accept it and learn to live with it in a way that is healthy. So I started to make those lifestyle changes, and I made some major changes to the point of even who was in my circle, because stress induces flare-ups. So I started to be very mindful of who was in my circle. I started to read quote books. I was always very religious growing up, but I started to really embrace prayer. I have one of my favorite books is a quote and Bible book. It's like combined with all different scriptures and quotes all combined. It's one of my favorite books, and I carry it with me everywhere I go. And I started to really help my mental. I started focusing on my mental, and then also my physical, in a sense where I started to eat better. I started to exercise even more. And I educated myself on food that is good for your body, because what I've learned is that if you do not watch the food that you are putting into your system, it could really affect your health tremendously. So with many, many years of practice, because I say it's practicing a lifestyle change. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to work at it every single day. And 10 years later, I'm still working at it every single day. I make sure I go to the gym because my body is so weak. I mean, I may look strong, I may feel strong, act strong, but I don't feel it sometimes. There are days that I can't even get out of bed. There has been days that my sister has had to help just dress me because that's how painful my lupus can get if I'm neglecting myself. So I learned to build more muscle. I've learned to build endurance just by going to the gym and focusing on these little goals, and then eating healthy food that, gives you more energy. Now, here's the thing. I'm Italian. I love food. I love food. I love pizza. I love pasta. I love bread, but they don't love me so much. So I have to, everything in moderation. That's the key.
Can I just say, I think it's amazing that you went through such a difficult time and that through it all, you really weren't complaining about it. I mean, there's sometimes these days a victim mentality. People want to, point out their problems and, feel sorry for me. So, and, it could be like they stubbed their toe or they got stuck in traffic. And I just think it shows a huge naivety that, there are massive problems going on in the world, much bigger than, they got the order to your Starbucks wrong. But I mean, it's also a balance between learning to ask for help as well. You don't want to be that strong, silent type who never asks for help, because then something could be wrong, as in your case, it was a diagnosis. And if you don't communicate to anyone, that never happens. So has there sort of been a balancing act for you, learning that sometimes it is okay, in fact, to ask for help?
Absolutely. It is 100% okay to ask for help. But I've learned that you should never take advantage of others and be very conscious of that. I always remind myself that other people's time is valuable. Don't take it for granted, and make sure that you show that you are appreciative. That's something that I've learned throughout the years, that when I ask for help, I always make sure that I say thank you. Those simple words that are sometimes forgotten. And I always believe in thanking the ones that help you. And it could be a simple task as helping you get to a location, or coming with you to an event, or just helping you lift something. I may look strong, but like I said, I'm physically, I have a hard, I can't lift a lot of like tables at the restaurant. So I have to be very careful. So just asking for help, with those simple tasks, making sure that you show your appreciation in return, because I think it's important that you're always mindful of how others feel. And, yes, I may not be feeling great, but I always try to put others first. And I realize that does help. It does help. And nobody's perfect. Adrian, we're not perfect. Everyone has their flaws. But I always try to be mindful of showing appreciation to other people's time and their help when I need it.
I think it's fascinating you say that, because I was interviewing a director probably 2 years ago now. And I asked her what I thought would be a straightforward question, which was, do your contestants thank you? Are they grateful afterwards? And quite shockingly, she said a lot of her contestants actually never thank her. When the whole thing is over, they don't come by and say, even like, thank you for your hard work. I mean, it's not about whether you win or not. You have to realize most directors are doing it not because they want to become hugely rich. It's because the love of pageantry and the love of, the sisterhood.
Yes.
So for your contestants watching, I want to say it's very important just to say thank you, not only to your director, but your sponsors, your parents, your partners, if they've been supporting you. I mean, I sometimes feel sorry for pageant partners because, bless them,
yes, bless them.
I can always pick them at an event. They're always the guys who are standing in a corner looking very, very confused. Like, what am I doing here? And they don't know where to look and what they're allowed to look at. I find it.
What did I get myself into?
Well, they're always drinking to cope with that. So, but yeah, just thanking people. And as you said, not taking people's time for granted. So before we jumped on live, I said I was very appreciative of you jumping on with us. And, you know, because you can get money back, but you can't get time back, and you can't get, you know, memories back. You can't get moments back. So I think it's very, very well spoken what you said. I just want to ask in terms of the restaurant. So now V&M Bistro, correct me again if I'm wrong, but it's Vincenza and Margherita.
Margherita. Wow, you really are very good with the Italian pronunciation.
I have not been practicing for the past week, but Vincenza obviously is yourself. Margherita, what's the story behind the and M part of your restaurant's name?
Margherita is my little sister. So my sister and I we're in this together. We're the dynamic duo, the sisters. My sister is been a huge part of everything that I do in my life, but a huge part of the restaurant, obviously. But she's also been a huge part of my pageant life. And every pageant I've competed in, she's been there. On top of my family, I'm Italian, so obviously we come in packs. Yeah. My mom, my dad, my brothers. But my sister, she's my best friend. My business partner, and so it's exciting to be in business with her. And I think about it all the time because people ask me this. They're like, how do you do it? How do you work with your family all the time? And don't you fight with your sister? Yes, we fight. We argue, but there is such thing as having a healthy argument. We were raised by our father. He would always say that. Forgive quickly, especially in the restaurant industry, because it is a very tough industry to survive, to, be in. He said, forgive quickly. And that is the motto, the mentality, that we have when we work every day together. We have our arguments, we disagree. When we disagree, we're not like some Italian households that are very dramatic, and we're not like that. There's such thing as healthy fighting, but we always make sure at the end of the day we come back together. Hey, I'm sorry I said that, or hey, I'm sorry I was a little bit maybe too forward or aggressive with the particular issue we were discussing. But we always make sure that at the end of the day that we come back together, we apologize, and we don't hold grudges. We keep it moving. And that's really, really important, because people ask us all the time, how do you do it? How do you work with your sister? How do you work with your family? Don't you want to kill them? And I say, no, I wouldn't want it any other way, to be honest with you. Yeah. I feel lucky that I get to go to work with my family every day. Yeah. It's a blessing to me.
When you argue, is it over really, I'm not going to say unimportant or important things, but are we talking about arguing someone put too much salt in the bolognese sauce? Are we arguing about business practices? Like, what exactly are we arguing about here, just out of curiosity?
It could be anything. It could be something as simple as putting signage together for the exterior part of the building. Making sure that the placement of the letters or the size of the font is a certain size, because the drivers in their cars driving by, they won't be able to see it. You have to have the font size a certain size, or they're not going to be able to see it, or a certain color. Some simple little details we could have a disagreement about, or the items on the menu, or how we approach business decisions. But we always feel that communication is key. And this is with anything, communication is key. But when you are in business with someone, it's really, really important to communicate with your business partner, especially difficult difficult topics, or difficult decisions. Very important to weigh out all your decisions, brainstorm. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad idea, but it's also important before you execute an idea that you talked about it, you weigh out, the pros and cons, and sometimes you got to take risks. So, you always trial and error. So, but it's important to forgive quickly. Again, my dad always says that, forgive quickly and you will be fine. And it's going to be 7 years this fall since V&M Bistro has opened their doors. And he's right. Forgive quickly, or my sister, it would have been just M Bistro and she would have kicked the V out.
No. I mean, congratulations, first of all, because 7 years in the restaurant business, especially after Corona, it might as well be 5,000 years. You're well overdue your gold watches, but you have to talk to your boss about getting a gold watch. If I can take you back to 2014 when you opened the doors for the first time, can you just tell me how that moment felt? Because I've never opened a restaurant and I've seen all these documentaries about restaurant. I love food. I love what goes on behind the kitchen, in the kitchen. What was it like when the doors opened the first time?
Wow. So it's so funny that you're asking me this question, because I feel that I'm reliving it right now when building up to pageant weekend. The same feelings and the same emotions, and you're nervous, you're excited, you're scared, you're worried, but you're stressed a little bit, actually you're stressed a lot. The same feelings. It's because I feel that I'm opening up a restaurant. That's literally what I'm going through right now. I feel like I'm about to open up a new business, and the grand opening is pageant day. That's what it feels like. So the same feelings I'm going through that I've went through 7 years ago before I opened the doors of V&M Bistro. And I remember like the morning of, you were just like, just go for it. Just go for it. It is what it is at this point. If something goes wrong, you figure it out. It's all about troubleshooting, right? There's no such thing as a perfect production. And, it's how you work through the hiccups, and the same thing for, opening up a restaurant. And you know what the two actually correlate. They're very similar, meaning a pageant, producing a pageant and opening up a restaurant and running a pageant, because of their productions. And you have everyone's role. And it's, I've actually used this example in training some of my employees, that when you're table side speaking to customers who are your audience, you are putting on a show, and you are the star of the show, and they've come to see you. Give them the best experience, give them a show them that confidence table side. And when they walk out those doors, they felt like they just saw, the best show ever, and they want to come back for more. So it's very similar, very, very similar in producing a pageant, because you're who's your audience? You have to, remember that, who's your audience. And, we want to give them the best possible experience. So, I apply there's a lot of similarities, and I apply, mentality that I apply in the restaurant. I'm applying with the, producing the pageant.
I think it will put you in really good stead. I mean, having owned and operated a restaurant for 7 years, where you're literally sometimes putting out fires, troubleshooting, you're putting out fires.
Oh yeah. That's all I do.
When it goes to running a pageant, it's like, if it goes well, you'll know, because no one will know you're there. It's that sort of thing. Like, if people know you're there, that sometimes means things aren't going well. It's like, if you can just be invisible, then that means things are going really well. So yes. I think it's going to stand you in really good. And pageantry, being a director, it is a business. And I think it's actually a really good thing to treat directing the pageant as a business, because as you pointed out, there are the parallels with audience and putting on a show. And, if people enjoy it, they will come back. Yes. I mean, there are certain business fundamentals that apply everywhere. I just have to ask, because now I'm thinking about Italian food. What is the secret to Italian food? I know that's a stupid question, but when you think Italian food, are you thinking the herbs and spices? Are you thinking fresh pasta? Are you thinking seasoning, seasonal, fresh? Like, can you tell me what Italian food means to you?
Okay, so how I was raised by a chef. So I grew up in a household that we always ate well because well, one, food is really important. We take it seriously, but I think it comes down to the quality of your ingredients.
Hmm.
Really, really important when you're putting together a dish. But also the person making it is so important. They're making it and doing it and creating it with love. It's really, really important. My dad always stresses this, that, you can give anyone a recipe.
Mm.
It's the person making it that makes the difference. Are they doing it with their heart? Are they just doing it to do it? But I would have to say the quality of the ingredients, the freshness of the product is really, really important. And then the love that you put into it. And maybe it takes some practice in nailing a recipe, but I feel that with the quality ingredients and the love you put into it, I think that really makes Italian food. You come to my house for a special holiday. I mean, we're just cooking all day. That's what we're doing. We're eating and cooking and eating, cooking and eating. There's no such thing as just one meal. There's multiple meals. We take breaks and go right back to eating. So it's fun because you know what's nice about dinner time or food, and it brings people together. And it creates conversation. It creates an experience. It's enjoyable. And I think that's what I love most about Italian dinners or Sunday dinners with family. It brings us together.
If you had one final meal before you left this earth, a meal and a drink, because I've seen your cocktails and I'm like, I want the food, but the cocktails, I'm like, give me that. A final meal and a final drink. What would be your go-to if you could have anything?
Pizza made by my dad only.
Hmm.
I have to say he makes the best pizza. And anybody that knows my dad's pizza knows when he's making it, it just tastes different. You could have multiple pizza makers with the same product, the same freshness of the product, the ingredients, everything. But it's the way he prepares it, the way he makes it. It's a whole experience in itself. But pizza made by my dad. I think that would be the final meal. Drinking wise, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big drinker. I know that you probably have eyed up our famous limoncello iced martini that we sell at Vienna and Bistro. Yes.
Very eye-catching, and I am a martini person, so I'm like, I want that.
That's what we're known for. Really, that's what we're known for. We make our own lemon ice and we make our own limoncello in-house, and
wow.
And we joke it's the drink that never ends, because the lemon ice melts and all the flavors combine, and it just you feel like the drink keeps coming, it keeps going and going, and it never ends. So that's why people love it. But it's refreshing. You can have this particular cocktail at any point in your meal. It could be during the beginning of your meal, the middle of your meal, or it can be a dessert drink. So it's refreshing, and it really goes with so many different items on our menu as well.
Who came up with that drink?
So my family and I, when we would go to Italy, they had this drink that everyone would always get before you go to the beach, or just if it's a hot day, and they were called granitas, and it's alcohol and a water ice or an Italian ice mixed together. And my sister and I, we loved that drink when we would go to Italy and always have that. My family, that was always the go-to refreshing drink. So that was I would say the idea, the inspiration that helped us create our famous limoncello iced martini. But again, like what sets us apart, because anybody could make it. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel. I think it stems from the quality of our ingredients. And I think that's what sets us apart from everyone else, because you can find a limoncello martini anywhere. And it's not difficult to make. It's very simple ingredients, but it's the quality of our ingredients, I think, that sets us apart. I mean, we make our own limoncello and we make our own lemon ice. A lot of restaurants or cocktail bars or martini bars, they don't make their own lemon ice. So that's something that, we take great pride in, but I think it also stems from that we have a ice cream background. I don't know if you know, we also own an ice cream business. It's going to be 16 years, I think, 16 seasons.
Oh, wow.
So,
right.
So we love desserts, we love treats. So we combined the best of both worlds and made a heavenly cocktail.
I'm seeing all the collaboration possibilities between Pageant World and the restaurant and the ice cream. I mean, it just kind of writes itself. I often end up after interviews really hungry because we talk about food a lot. This is one of the occasions where I feel like I really want to drink as well. And I don't mean that I haven't enjoyed the interview, but it's like I've just been eyeing off that cocktail because the food looks amazing. But that cocktail, I looked at it and went, wow, as someone who appreciates martinis, and I don't like to drink a lot, which means when I do drink, I want it to be good. I don't want to waste the drink on something cheap and nasty. So when I saw that, it's like, oh, I really, really want that. Vincenza, we'll move towards the close because I've kept you on for a while already. Just before we get to the final 10 questions, anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, gosh. My sister, Margarita, she has been a huge part of everything that I'm doing behind the scenes, even preparing for the pageant, because it's hard to juggle it all between the restaurants, the ice cream plates, everything that I'm doing. It's hard to juggle it all. But when you have such a great team in place, it's really, really important. So I wanted to give a shout out to my sister. So it's Margarita, I love you. Thank you for everything that you've been doing and helping me make sure that I achieve my dreams, but also being such a great support system and cheerleader.
Okay. Final 10 questions. Always wrap up the interview with the same final 10. Just before we get to them, I've been thinking this on and off for the whole interview. Have you ever been told that you look like a famous person?
Yes. 2 people over the span of 20 years. I guess age, you age and you change a little bit. When I was a teenager, I was always told this, always, you look like Demi Moore. You look like Demi Moore. And then I got older. Now I'm in my 30s. I get told, I think it's Megan Fox or Angelina Jolie combined. I get a couple of those, and I'm like, hey,
it was Angelina Jolie. I've just been looking at you going, I feel like I'm talking to Angelina Jolie.
I will take it. That is a compliment.
And I'm not one of those people who says, oh, you look like a famous person. It's just like, I've been looking at it going, I feel like I'm speaking to the spitting image of Angelina Jolie. And she's a woman of substance as well. She does amazing work. So I really feel it's uncanny. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who's thought that.
You're good. Thank you.
I was thinking Angelina Jolie. Okay, final 10 questions. This is as pageant-esque because we're going to it's not a speed round, but if you want to zip through it, being the competitive soul that you are, then go for it. Random questions. Number 1, favorite word?
Perseverance.
Least favorite word?
Hate. I don't even say it. I try to eliminate that word from my everyday vocabulary. It's better to say dislike versus hate. And then you know what? I'm going to add one more. Can't. I have eliminated can't. Growing up in the dance world, my dance teacher always taught her students, never say I can't. And still to this day, I apply that. Never say you can't, say you will. Maybe it takes you a little longer or you have to take extra steps to get there. So hate and can't out of the vocabulary.
Similarly, I use those words. I hardly use those words at all. Hate in particular. I just find it to be way too strong a term and a very sort of permanent term. And you say can't, I say can't, coming from Australia, but same word. It's not a good word.
Hmm.
Question 3.
Hmm.
In life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Hmm. I would say what gets me excited, what makes me happy, my family. My family. I thrive off of being with my family. This week was Father's Day.
Mm.
I was so excited to spend it with my dad. I was so excited to spend it with my family, my siblings. Um, my uncle put together a barbecue. We haven't had a barbecue in over a year. I haven't seen my aunts and uncles in a long time, and I was so happy. It was. I mean, I that made me happy. No, you couldn't put a price tag on that feeling and that moment, that
Mm.
just gathering. So family makes me excited, makes me happy.
So that was what turns you on. Question 4, what turns you off?
Negativity, complainers, definitely don't like that. And someone who's constantly complaining, constantly negative, I eliminate because of my
Mm.
lupus. I delete quickly.
Yeah.
If you do not bring me joy, I delete. I have to put my health first, and I've become very adamant about that. And
Mm.
but no one's perfect. Let me be realistic here. No one's perfect. We all have
Mm.
flaws, and it's okay to make mistakes, and but it's important to forgive too. But
Yeah.
I feel that if someone is constantly complaining, they got to
Yeah.
go. Got to
Yeah.
go.
I think more of us should have that attitude. I think
Mm.
if their default setting is negative, then, replace them with someone who's positive in your life. Question 5. What
Mhm.
sound or noise do you love?
Mm. I would say you might think this is hilarious. The sound of a fork and knife hitting a dish, and it's usually the sound of eating.
Mm.
That's the sound. You can tell when someone is enjoying their meal, and you just hear that sound of the fork and knife hitting the dish, and
Yeah.
there's no talk. It's just eating, and that's always a good
Yeah.
sign. They're
Yeah.
enjoying their meal.
Yeah. They're too busy eating their meal to be talking.
Mhm.
That's a good sign. Question 6. What sound or noise do you hate?
Hmm. Sound or noise do I hate? Ah, that's a tough one. See, some people may say no sound. They hate the sound of
Mm.
silence. I disagree. I love the sound of silence sometimes. Sometimes it's important to embrace that. So, noise that I dislike would probably be static. What do you think?
Well, after the beginning of our interview, it's like, yeah, yeah. After you listen to that for like half an hour of your own podcast, it's like, yeah, I can definitely sympathize
No.
with that one.
But it's
It's a
not a
good
big,
choice.
to me, it's not a big deal. I would have to say that I'm not sensitive to sounds, that I would be
Mm.
bothered by it to the point that it would ruin my day, or shake me, or derail me.
Yeah.
I believe, I personally believe that sound is important. Actually, speaking of sound, just to mention this, in the restaurant industry, it's important to use all of your senses. Yes, it's important
Mm.
to see, smell, touch, but more important to listen to different sounds in the restaurant industry, because you could tell if something's going wrong. But
Mm.
sound is good. Noise is positive in the restaurant industry. Noise means business. The sound of the silverware hitting the dish, that means people are eating. The sound
Yeah.
of people in your restaurant, the sound of the phone ringing,
Yeah.
that's all noise, and that's positive. It's when it's quiet.
100%.
When it's quiet in the restaurant industry, it's not a good thing.
Yeah,
Too quiet.
definitely. Yeah. Question 7. If you could
Mhm.
have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Ooh. Hmm. Superpower would probably be, I would have to say, it's funny, growing up in the pageant world, I used to say the invisibility power, to be invisible,
Hmm.
but that has changed over the years. Now it's a superpower would be like, I don't know if you do you follow any comic book superheroes? Oh, you do. Okay. You wouldn't be asking this question if you didn't. It would have to be like like a Captain America, like the superpower of strength, and that he could, stop, any like a fireball, like coming towards you, or stop, a building from falling, the strength, that the physical
Yeah.
strength. I wish I had that superpower. And I think
Yeah.
that the reason that has changed over the years is because of my lupus.
Yeah.
I want more strength and physical strength. So I would love for that superpower.
Well, I mean, he got it from a super serum, if I remember correctly. So if you can just get your hands on some of that, then be all good.
Sign me
Uh,
up.
yeah. Question eight. This is going to be a difficult one for you because you've done so many things. But what job or profession other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Oh gosh.
Is there anything left on the list? Because I got to believe there can't be unless it's going to the moon.
Yes, I have one. It's been on my list for a long time. I would love to be an author. My goal is to write a children's book. As an advocate for promoting literacy, co-founding a nonprofit literacy organization, I always wanted to write a children's book. And before COVID, I was already in the talks of putting it together. I met with a publisher. I was ready to execute the steps, and then COVID hit, and I had to unfortunately put that on hold because my livelihood was at stake. My restaurant was falling apart, and it was. And for many that don't know that, I'm sure everybody knows, restaurants were hit really hard.
Yeah.
This pandemic. I mean, it was serious, and still is, because we're still trying to recuperate, and it's going to take us a long time to get there. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out, but we keep saying, we just keep swimming. Eventually things are going to get better. So we're waiting for that day. But I would love to be an author of a children's book or books.
I can see that. I think that will happen sooner than you think. Question 9. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh,
Is there anything that you just wouldn't give a go?
Gosh. See, I love trying new things. I love learning. I would have to say there is no job. I'm a hustler. I like to work.
Yeah.
I like to earn what I have in my life. I like, it's rewarding in itself. I'm not a fan of handouts. I'm not a fan of a free handout. I'm not a fan of that. I feel that it's important to work hard for what you want in life and earn it. So I would have to say anything. It's I wouldn't just put one thing that I never want to do. I love learning, so anything really.
100%. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Oh, gosh. What would you want him to say? I would say that he, well, first off, I'm arriving at the pearly gates is a good sign, right? So
Yeah.
Tim, I guess he would say something along the lines of that you won't have any more pain in your body. I would love for that to be like, I've taken your lupus away, because that would be amazing. Sometimes I put on a face. I joke about it all the time. I put on, everyone jokes, oh, you're too pretty to have lupus. And how do you don't have lupus? And I'm like, well, I wear it well. And, I wear it well. So I would love for him to say that your lupus has been cured.
Yeah. That's fair enough. I don't really understand the sentence, "You're too pretty to have lupus," because I didn't realize that autoimmune diseases work that way. But
it's because they don't see it. I think that's what it is. People don't physically see that you're in pain or suffering. So it's hard for them to believe. At first I thought it was a joke when someone said it to me. I'm like, oh, it's just a joke. And then 10 years of getting a comment like that, it's regular. You're like, really? Like, really? That's where we're going here. Like, I would never say that to anyone, but it's interesting that, they judge it, that way, that, because they don't know. It's the ignorance of, they don't know what lupus is. And I think that's why, so I've learned you can't get upset about comments like that. And I feel that it's my job to help them understand and educate. That's why I've become such I guess you would say a big advocate and spokesperson for lupus, because we need to educate more people about what it is. And I think the more we educate our community and our world about what lupus is, we will get to a cure much faster.
Yeah. It reminds me sometimes when people say you're too smart to be a pageant girl, or when they look at pageant girls and go, wow, you actually have a proper job. It's like, and I'm just like,
what?
There are so many levels to that statement that I could just like, do you even realize what you're saying?
Yes.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Look, Vincenza, that's it. Thank you so much for your time and jumping on at 6 a.m.
My pleasure. You got me up nice and early. I have a face on today, right? So now I have to really take advantage of it. When I go,
you got to go and do something now.
I'm going to go do something now. No, I when I go to work, I'll hear it from my employees. They're like, "All right, what interview did you have today, Vincenza? What pageant event did you have to go to?" They joke, because I don't look like this every day at work. I don't put makeup on. My hair's pulled up in a ponytail with the hat on. It's I have the t-shirt and the work pants and the slip resisted shoes. So it's not very pageant like, but I love dressing up. I love putting on a glam face. So I thank you for giving me such a good reason to get glam today.
Well, it's always a pleasure to interview Angelina Jolie, so I can say I've crossed that off my bucket list.
Thank you.
Don't hang up with me just yet. I'll wrap up with the audience and then I'll just have a quick chat to you before you head off. But thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and we will speak to you next time. Thanks for watching. Just a reminder to you entrepreneurial types to come and join us at our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/the pageant boss. I'll see you inside and see you in the next episode.